Welcome to the Writing Glitch. I'm Cheri Dotterer, your classroom coach. Today we have John Munro. He is the head of the GOW School in Buffalo, New York. The GOW is a no, it's not, it's a premier. The GOW is a premier boarding and day school for students with learning disabilities in grades 5 through postgraduate, just about 20 miles outside Buffalo, New York. And I've got to say, it's a little on the envious side of me because I absolutely fell in love with Niagara when I was there, and you're not that far away. So, welcome to the show.
Great. Thank you, Cheri. I appreciate you taking time this afternoon to have this conversation. It's a terrific school, and I know it's in your wheelhouse in terms of the work that you're doing. So I look forward to a productive conversation and hope to share more details with you about the GOW School, its mission, and the work that we're doing to transform the life trajectories of so many wonderful children.
Fantastic. Before we get started, I'm going to read a word from our sponsor. At Disability Labs, we are committed to impact the journey of 200,000 teachers by 2030 so they can reignite their passion for learning. Our professional development series focuses on math and learning strategies to help all students in your classroom. These interventions improve students with and without disabilities. All students have access to the mathematics and the writing skills. But now, let's find out a little bit more about the GOW School. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what is the GOW School?
Great. Thank you, Cheri. And I just have to say, I love the phrase in your spot, ignite learning. And that's a motto that we use quite often here at the GOW School because many of our learners arrive at GOW as broken learners and have been knocked down to the mat a number of times in their previous educational settings. And they discover a program with extremely small classes with expert teachers that instill confidence and indeed ignite learning. So I'm excited to dig into that topic with you today. A quick background. Again, my name is John Munro, and this is my second year serving as the head of school at the GOW School. Prior to serving GOW, I led a small K-9 independent school in Fairfield, Connecticut called Fairfield Country Day School. A traditional school, very few students with learning differences. So this is a new mission for me, and frankly, one that's very inspiring. Nothing against some of those traditional schools out here, but I think I can speak for myself and our faculty that we are highly motivated by the work we do here because it is meaningful. We're helping underdogs who have been knocked down to the mat, and it's fulfilling and motivating work. It was really the reason why I came to the GOW School, and now I'm living that mission and doing my best to advance that mission.
Fantastic. Tell us a little bit more about the history because when we
Sure.
were on the phone a little while ago, you were telling me it's been around for many years.
So yeah,
Right.
it's a very interesting history. So we are in our 99th year as a school and obviously very excited about celebrating our centennial next year. But the school was founded in 1926 by two individuals, Peter GOW and Dr. Samuel Orton. Peter GOW in the early 1920s was teaching English at a private all-boys school in the city of Buffalo called the Nichols School. And he began growing more and more frustrated with a small handful of students that he was teaching who were clearly very bright, highly intelligent, but struggled mightily with spelling and with reading and with writing. And he didn't understand why. And so he took it upon himself to start a small school, as you said, 20 miles outside of Buffalo in South Wales, New York, that would focus on supporting these students and teaching them the skills necessary for them to be successful academically in college and beyond. And so as he was getting this school off the ground in its infancy in 1926, he had recently started conversations with a neuroscientist, Dr. Samuel Orton, who was one of the early pioneers in understanding the connections between neurology and learning. He, at the time, I believe, was working in Iowa and then moved to New York City in the mid-1920s. And Peter GOW and Dr. Orton, Dr. Samuel Orton, got together on numerous occasions to discuss this conundrum of how do we impact and how do we teach these students who are really struggling with their reading. Peter GOW provided a school and a wonderful pedagogical philosophy. And in partnership with Dr. Orton, he provided the neuroscience behind what was going on, and he was referring students to attend the GOW School. So in 1926, the school got off the ground. It was the foundation of the work that they did centered around dyslexic thinking. It also led to the development of our signature curricula, which is still in place right now, known as Reconstructive Language, also known as RL to all of our students. And we can dive in. I can certainly talk to you a little bit about RL, but over the last 99 years, the school has grown to be a globally recognized boarding school. Students from grades 5 to postgraduate level. It was an all-boys school until about 2012, where we admitted the first girls to GOW. And right now we are about 2/3 boys and 1/3 girls, and the number of female students is growing. About 85 to 90% of our students are boarding students, and another 10 to 15% live locally here in the Buffalo area.
You said international. You have students from outside the country?
We do. We were actually a little stronger internationally before COVID, where we were probably about 20, maybe close to 25% of our student population was international. Today, we're at about 15%, and frankly, we're looking to regain that international population. But we have students spread out from across the world. We have students from Oman. We have students from just north of us in Canada. We have students from Ecuador. We've had students from Spain. We've had students from United Arab Emirates. You name the country, almost all of them have been represented over time here at GOW. And again, typically small numbers from multiple countries rather than a large number from one singular country. Bermuda is an interesting feeder country for us, and as part of the culture, I think, in that country regarding students looking at GOW to help support their needs.
Very interesting. I just want to sit there a minute and just absorb that. We've had students coming here to the United States from all of these outside areas, and they're learning English, but they probably were coming because they were struggling with their own language to begin with, I would imagine. So how did you bridge that gap between their native language and English?
So that's a good question. So I would say almost all of our international students are fluent in English. We do not provide a formal separate ESL program. We have support in that area for students that need it, but really the work that we're doing is on their remediation and their strengthening of skills that will allow them to be successful academically. We are a college preparatory school. 99% of our students go on to college and have successful experiences that lead them into particular careers. So that is our primary focus, is to build their level of reading and their level of academic confidence and their maturity so that they can have successful experiences in college and beyond. So those two strands of our mission go hand in hand.
Now, before we get into the reconstructive language, let's sit in there on the boarding school idea for a minute. What extracurricular program do you have? Because they're not in school 24 hours a day. There's got to be other things that are bringing them to your school. What are some of the other extracurricular activities that you have provided?
Yeah, good question. Thank you, Cheri. Really, the number one draw that is attracting families and students to our school is our mission to support dyslexic thinkers and those with language-based learning differences. That's our bread and butter. It's a pretty intensive, structured program. Our students have classes 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday. Those classes go from 8:30 in the morning to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There's a tutorial session that goes from about 3 to 3:45. Then we have our athletic program, and our students are involved in sports our boys soccer program is a very popular and successful program in the fall. Our girls volleyball program is growing and finding more success. Boys basketball, we receive a lot of snow in Western New York, so we have a robust skiing and snowboarding program, offer lacrosse and flag football and tennis and squash. So the extracurriculars, along with theater and performing arts, are all complement our academic program very well. But quite honestly, I don't think many families are drawn to GOW because we have a successful soccer program. Many of them love the fact that we offer sports and we have competitive interscholastic programs, but it really complements what our focus is, and that's on the area of academic remediation and, again, building their confidence as readers. But we are fortunate to have a beautiful 126-acre campus with lush fields and hills and a creek that runs through. So it's a gorgeous setting. We try to take advantage of our outdoors as much as possible. We do have a very popular outdoor education program, which is an offering that students can choose if they do not want to choose an athletic team event. And that group of, I think, a dozen students just got back from an incredible canoeing trip in Algonquin Provincial Park in Canada. We try to find areas where students can find success. And for a lot of our students, especially our new students, the first few months can be bumpy because typically they're coming out of programs where they weren't finding success, or maybe they've been to 2 or 3 schools before GOW and they're a little skeptical. I went to these other schools and it didn't work. By having a program like our athletics program or our arts program, it gives kids some wins. We want every kid to have at least a few wins every day. And some of our new students, those first few weeks of 6 days a week academics, sometimes there's not that many wins right out of the gate. Ultimately, there is, of course. It's about striking the right balance.
And you said that you have some kids, 10% of your kids are day students.
Right.
Are they also coming 6 days a week?
They are, yes. And typically they are staying through our dinner and required study hall. Our day is a full day. Whether they arrive as a day student and they're dropped off at 8 o'clock, or whether they get up at 7:30 in the dorms to get ready for breakfast, they are structured with a consistent, predictable schedule that really goes from 8 a.m., 7:30 a.m., all the way through our evening required study hall. So after a full day of classes, there's an opportunity for a tutorial. There's then the athletic period, which is about 4 o'clock to 5:15, little bit of a window of catch your breath, dinner at 6, and then mandatory study hall, 6:30 to 8 if you're in the middle school, 6:30 to 8:30 if you're in the upper school. So it's a very full day by design.
But your staff, I'm thinking about like a 24-hour staff. You don't have teachers on, do you have teachers on staff from 6 to 8 during that study hall? Or is
Oh,
that study hall very much independent with not extra support?
No, the study halls are proctored. There are 2 separate study halls. There are multiple proctors in each study hall. It's opportunities not just to sit down and study independently, but to seek extra help and support as well from teachers. Yeah, it's an incredible quality that I don't think many educators possess, is that our teachers are going nonstop. It's one of the strengths of the program, is because often a student who has Mr. Smith for math might have Mr. Smith for soccer and might see Mr. Smith again during tutorial. And Mr. Smith and Mrs. Smith might be his dorm parents. So the relational elements and the connections that our faculty build with our students are really unique. And the residential environment really promotes that increased level of connection, relational learning, which translates directly into increased performance in academic and character metrics. So again, we call it the triple threat because so many of our teachers teach, they coach, and they're dorm parents. And they work extremely hard.
Sounds that way. It sounds like they have to be devoted to that program to be employed by you. It doesn't sound like there's much time for them to have extracurricular time during the
Right.
school year.
Yeah, it's a challenge. I don't have the exact statistics, but we found that if a teacher stays with us for 3 years, gets through that, again, 24/7 approach, because the day just doesn't end at 11. There are things that happen between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. Someone is ill and needs to get to the nurse, etc. So if they get through those first 3 years, they tend to stay till, I think the tenure is about 16 or 17 years. So it's remarkable. But you're right. They don't have a lot of free time. Our philosophy around our academic calendar is we have an intense first 6 weeks where we start late August, we get to October 15th, and we take a full week off. Not a long weekend, we take a full week off. And it's intentional to allow those teachers to disconnect, to re-energize, as well as our kids. Our kids are working hard 6 days a week for 6 weeks. And then everyone disconnects for about a week. Then we regroup and go late October to late November, maybe 4 weeks until we get that Thanksgiving break, take a full week off for Thanksgiving, and then go about another 3 or 4 weeks to our December holiday. That's typically 2 weeks, full 2 weeks, and then another 6 weeks to the February break. We take a week off, another 4 weeks to Easter, take 2 weeks off, and then we graduate in late May. So we meet our quota of 170 school days. That's our goal, but we chop it up in a way where there are those periods of disconnection and restoration, if you will, for both our faculty and our students that need it.
And in those periods of weeks off, is the school physically closed? Like when my daughter went to Penn State, they literally kicked them out of the dorms. They kicked them out of off campus, except for a very small group of kids. And then they had to be in like one dorm because there was no way for them to go anywhere. Is that the case there? That week break, they are kicked off campus and
We don't like to we don't really like to use the word kicked off, but we do. It is important to separate, but there are always some issues where that doesn't work. We, again, having international students, the cost of travel, we have an expensive tuition, and you layer in 4 or 5 round trip, airfares a year, it adds up. So if there are students for whatever circumstances that need to stay on campus that during those breaks, we typically try to match them up with one of our day students, or if absolutely necessary, we will run a very much scaled down program here. But typically it's I can probably count on one hand or less the number of students, and we really do try to separate as much as possible, because it's ideally we don't want 2 or 3 faculty to be on campus having to use that week supervising kids that couldn't get home.
That is really fantastic that you are able to do that. And sorry if I used kicked off, but that was the thing that was like in my head as I felt like they were under pressure to get off campus and they were kicking them out.
I have to share a quick movie recommendation. Holdovers, if you haven't seen it, is exactly what you're talking about. It's about a group of 6 or 7 misfits in a boarding school that have to stay over Christmas break. So anyways, quick plug for a very funny movie, and that tells a lot about boarding school life. And it was filmed at the boarding school that I went to, so even better.
So you have a history of boarding schools in your life.
I do. I attended boarding school, and 2 out of my 3 daughters attended boarding school. Even though I haven't worked at a boarding school before, I can see it through the lens of a student and as a parent. So I think that helps in some of the conversations I have with prospective families who might not really feel comfortable about sending their child to a boarding school. In some areas, geographic regions, there's a stigma that you don't love your child. Is that why you're sending them to boarding school? And that's not the case, especially with a specialized school like GOW.
Now let's shift gears and talk a little bit about this reconstructive language, because I've not heard it called that before. But you mentioned that Dr. Orton was part of the foundation of the school. Gillingham, where did that where did he come in? Does he
later?
Is he part of it too?
He came in later. So sometimes our original academic philosophy is called Ortonian after Samuel Orton, but it was really Dr. Samuel Orton's partnership with Peter GOW, which led to the development of a reconstructive language curricula. And that is the cornerstone of what we do in our work with dyslexic thinkers and students that have serious reading impairments. And it's essentially a system that allows students to memorize a deck of cards, the RL deck. If you ask any GOW alumni, they will tell you about their RL deck. It's something that they create, they take ownership, and essentially an RL deck consists of, I think, about 115 or 120 RL cards, and each card is a phonogram. It might be a one-letter phonogram, it might be a four-letter phonogram. It's complemented by guide words that relate to that phonogram, because dyslexics are unable to make the visual connection of looking at a letter, two letters, three letters, and connecting it with a sound. That is the weakness of the dysfunctional or the dyslexic mind that was identified early on by Dr. Samuel Orton. So that RL deck enforces memorization of those connections between letter combinations and sounds. Our students receive RL class every day. RL class is available at tutorial. RL class is available, or support is available during our study hall period. We have class sizes of 3 to 5 students.
That's small.
Right. And even the RL classes, I think, are even smaller. So in those sessions, students are going through reciting those, memorizing those, listening to their other classmate or two that are in that classroom, and that's reinforcing auditory comprehension. So it's RL, reconstructive language, Orton Gillingham for that matter. It doesn't solve dyslexia. You don't cure dyslexia. It's something that is part of the neurological wiring of someone who has that brain wiring. So this is an opportunity to create a system that, through the constant memorization, implants that relationship between a letter sequence and a sound, which allows them to read and ultimately strengthens their reading comprehension.
How does RL bridge over to writing skills?
That's a good question. There are elements of certainly of the spelling piece through those RL cards that will translate into writing, but that's a significant obstacle that a lot of our students face as well. So in their perhaps classes in reconstructive language and other of the humanities classes, whether it be an English class, a journalism class, a history class, those writing skills are reinforced to complement the work they're doing in reconstructive language.
So what they're learning over here in the big, whether it's a vowel, consonant, vowel, vowel, or consonant, vowel, vowel, consonant, that is
Consonant, consonant,
reinforced.
vowel, vowel, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
whatever
All the
word
combinations.
direction it goes, those words, or the similar words, are being reinforced in the other subject matters. So you're creating science questions that revolve there. You're developing history that supports those words. So they're seeing them across curriculum.
Yep. And students are also supported by a number of assistive technology tools, whether that is text to voice or voice to text work. And that can obviously help reinforce some of those skills that they frankly really struggle with.
With 3 to 5 students in a class, what is your max level of students that you can take in a year's time?
So that's a great question. We find the most success, obviously, working in small classes, especially in the RL curriculum. I think there are opportunities for classes to grow slightly larger in those courses that, again, they're going to need to be prepared for at the next level in college. I would say second to our reconstructive language program, our other signature curricula that a lot of our students are drawn to is robotics. And there is, yes, so the dyslexic mind for many aligns well in the fields of science, design, engineering. And we're fortunate to have a robotics lab that was funded primarily through one of our GOW graduates who was the inventor of BattleBots. So you might be familiar with BattleBots, which is a competition for school-age children, high school, out of high school, collegiate, where teams are building weaponized robots to battle against one another. And it's a highly competitive activity. We have a team of faculty that are devoted to this part of our curricula, and we have boys and girls who are extremely motivated, and it's prestigious to be part of the robotics team at GOW. I think last year we had 2 of our teams qualify and were invited to the National High School Championships in BattleBots. And these are teams from different schools that are operating remote controls to basically eliminate and defeat the competitor robots. And I think last year our teams finished out of 60 teams that qualified for the Nationals as an annual tournament in Pittsburgh. Our teams, the 2 GOW teams, finished in 5th and 12th place, I believe. So, and these are against some very high-powered private boarding schools that have a very high reputation for academic strength, that are sending majority of their graduates to very selective high-end colleges, Ivy League colleges, et cetera. And our group holds their own and then some. So it's something we're very proud of. I feel like in our admissions process, it's an element of what we offer. Again, we're trying to find kids wins, and the success they have in robotics and the community, if you will, around that. We have the whole school at Assembly watching our live streaming the tournament in Pittsburgh, cheering our squad on.
That's cool. But you never did answer how many students you have.
So our capacity, Cheri, with full, every room filled, et cetera, is probably close to 140, 150. Our enrollment is lower than that right now, so we're making strides to rebuild up to that number. Partly was hurt, I think I shared earlier, our international population was impacted during COVID, and we're still regrowing from that. But we're also intent on enrolling the students that are mission appropriate, the students that have a learning profile where they are going to find success here. There are at times students who come to us that have a much more traditional learning profile that could be quite successful in mainstreaming public schools and other private schools. And sometimes we'd love to have those students with us, but it isn't exactly the right fit. We are a very academic college preparatory school. We're not a therapeutic boarding school. So there are schools that are very well suited to serve children who have therapeutic needs. And unfortunately, those are families and students that we can't serve, because we don't have our expertise is in teaching kids how to read and to be able to master the reconstructive language curricula and deliver that to our students.
And what does summer look like?
Oh, great question. So the academic school year finishes in late May, mid to late May. The month of June is a little bit of time to re-energize for our faculty and staff. We just started a tradition of doing a June colloquium and bringing our faculty together to dig into a specific topic. And this past summer, we looked into really assessing and evaluating our day-to-day academic schedule, as well as our academic calendar, with really through the lens of looking at maximizing the experience for our students as well as our faculty. So a lot of good takeaways that will influence some of the changes we make in the future around our schedule. But the heart of our summer is our 5-week GOW summer school program. It typically enrolls 100 students, and probably about 75 of those students live here on campus for 5 weeks. Another 25% or so are local. It is a camp that has a very intense morning of academic work, centered a lot around our reconstructive language curricula and other academic offerings in the morning, lunch, and then afternoon, followed by much more traditional camp activities in performing arts and sports and field trips and outside activities. So it's actually, the GOW Summer School program is our biggest feeder into our full year academic program. I think this year, maybe 5 or 6, I think 6 students came from our GOW Summer School program and started in the fall as a regular student through the full year program.
So what you just said there was most of those 75 students were not year-long
No,
residential.
no, very few. Once in a while, Cheri, we will, through the admissions process, we'll identify a child who's a good fit for GOW, but we would suggest to them, or sometimes require, we really need you to do the 5-week program to give you a running start so that you're going to be very successful on day one at GOW. But most of our summer school program students aren't current students, but many of them become full-time current students through that process. Sometimes it's a couple of years after they do the GOW summer school program. But again, I think it's a terrific balance of academic remediation, academic support, as well as the traditional fun camp activities. And we have a lot of students that attend our summer program that don't have dyslexia, that might not have a learning difference, but I would suggest all learners will benefit, all styles of learners will benefit from the academic work that we offer in that program. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. All students benefit from structured literacy education.
Absolutely.
So how do we find out about the GOW School?
I would always encourage folks to explore our website. It's under a little bit of a remake right now, but it's obviously accessible and it tells a good story of what GOW is all about. But of course, nothing beats a visit to GOW. We are having a in-person open house, I believe on Monday, November 7th. I don't have my calendar on me. I think that's Veterans Day. A lot of schools are off, so we will be hosting an in-person there. But anytime someone wants to visit, we will individualize an open house for them that meets their schedule. But it's all about finding the right fit. And so it's a conversation we have with families. And for a lot of students who have been diagnosed with dyslexia and are not finding success in their current school, this can be an excellent option. We are a private school. We are tuition driven. We offer significant financial aid. We don't want finances to be the reason why a qualified student can't attend GOW. And we do our best to meet the difference between what they can afford and what our tuition is. So certainly reaching out to our enrollment office, they're the first line of contact, and that contact information is certainly available on our website, but would always encourage families to find time to visit campus, walk campus. You learn a lot by walking through a school and sitting down and having lunch, and you get a feel for the culture of the school. And I would say something we haven't discussed much, but as important to our commitment to academic success is the work we do around our 4 character-based values, our 4 pillars, which is honesty, hard work, respect, and kindness. And though we don't have separate courses in those areas, it's transmitted through everything we do here, whether it's on the stage, on the athletic field. We have assembly, all school assembly, 3 days a week. I like to design lessons for the whole school community that are centered around those 4 values. So that those character elements and those qualities are very important. And when we think of the ideal GOW graduate, it's someone who espouses those values as they go on to their next stage in life, as well as, of course, their growth in academic confidence and success.
What's the website?
www.gow.org. It's pretty simple. And you'll have the opportunity to navigate that and surf that. But stay tuned. We've got some really cool current family and current student and alumni testimonials and terrific videos that we're starting to unroll and roll out for the website. So we're making a big effort to get the word out. We've been a secret for too long. So hopefully we can engage some families and give them the opportunity to learn more about GOW.
Fantastic. Thank you for your time today. I appreciate you giving me a little bit more understanding about what GOW is. And I'm sure that the listeners found it interesting. Most people, like you said, don't know that GOW exists. I ran into GOW at the International Dyslexia Association conference last year, and then again at the Everybody Reads in Illinois. And then out of the blue, I had gotten an email from your assistant. I'm like, okay, we're supposed to talk. And so I want to thank you for your time. Head of school is a busy place to be. So thank you for your time.
You're very welcome, Cheri. I appreciate you thinking of GOW, and there's a lot of synergy between the work that you're doing and the work that we're doing here at GOW. So I certainly look forward to continuing our conversations.
Thank you. And listeners, remember, you were put here for such a time as this. Go be awesome, go be brilliant. Teach those struggling students with the strategies that you learn here. Thank you for being here.